Greetings, friends around the world. This is Dr. Bob Thiel for the Bible News Prophecy Channel. Mystery Babylon the Great. Is it the United States? Is it Mecca and Saudi Arabia? Could it have something to do with Rome? People have wondered about this, and while I used to think most people knew the answer to this, at least most people who professed Christ and had interest in prophecy, some other views have popped up lately. I'd like to start off by reading a few items that came from World News Daily in March of 2017. This article goes, "Filth on Television, the federal government promoting homosexuality around the world. Materialism, wealth, and consumerism beyond measure. Sometimes it seems like America is less of a city on a hill than a septic tank for sin. And some Christians have gone so far as to claim that America itself, which represents Babylon in the end times." Now, I've actually heard people make comments along that line. Now, then they say Joel Richardson believes he's identified Mystery Babylon, and he concedes that the U.S. has serious problems, but he says the prophecy simply does not fit the United States. And he's right. He says, "I understand that the United States has profound influence around the world. On the other hand, the United States does not represent the greatest system of false religion that mankind has ever known. The United States is not the great false religion. It is not the great false system of idolatry." Says that, yes, the United States has false religion of selfishness and materialism, and I would say most of what they call Christianity. But he says it's not unique that way. Other countries are like that. And he rejects the idea that New York City, the seat of Wall Street, United Nations, etc., could be Babylon. But he understands why people might think so. Now, he's correct about that particular part, but what about his next response? He says, Richardson argues there are specific criteria Mystery Babylon must meet. That's true. Which New York City in America does not. Also true. He believes there are references to it being located in a desert, and he argues it at length in some book he wrote called Mystery Babylon. Richardson believes the city which best meets these and other criteria is Mecca, the center of Islamic faith, which he calls the locus of Satan's power in the world today. Mecca? Why would people think it could have to do with Mecca? Well, one of the reasons that people believe that is based upon their understanding of Isaiah 21. I found a Dutch writer who said this proves that the Mystery Babylon is not a place like Rome, but instead it's a place like Mecca, and it's pointing to Mecca. And so let me read a few things from Isaiah 21. Isaiah 21 starts off, it says, "The burden against the wilderness of the sea. As the whirlwinds in the south pass through, so it comes from the desert, from a terrible land. A distressing vision is declared to me. The treacherous dealer deals treacherously, and the plunderers plunder. Go up, O Elam, besiege, O Media. All its sighting I have made to cease." So we have a prophecy against something called the wilderness of the sea. And we have people from Elam and Media that are going to conquer. Does this prove that this is Saudi Arabia? No. I'm not going to go there, but in Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 11, the Bible warns that the kings of the Medes are going to destroy Mystery Babylon. Now let's go down to verse 6 of Isaiah 21. It says, "For thus the Lord said to me, Go set a watchman, let him declare what he sees." Now let's go down to verse 9. "And look, here comes a chariot of men with a pair of horsemen. Then he answered and said, Babylon is fallen, and all carved images of her gods he has broken to the ground." So people have cited this passage supposedly as a reference to Mecca and Saudi Arabia. A couple of problems with this. First of all, it doesn't start talking about some of these other places until after this verse. This is from verse 1 through verse 10, actually. It's talking about the wilderness of the sea. The wilderness of the sea. Now, some people say, well, that would be a desert. Well, what about it being some type of a sea? Now, let's go to the book of Revelation and read something. Revelation chapter 13, verse 1. Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his 10 crowns, and on his head a blasphemous name. And you continue to read through here, you find out this is the beast. He becomes a warring power. But he's the beast of the sea. Well, what sea? Well, according to the Bible, it's the Great Sea. What's the Great Sea? Well, I'm going to read from the New King James again. This time I'm going to go to Daniel chapter 7. I'm going to start reading in verse 2. Daniel spoke, saying, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea. Verse 3. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, each different from the other. And then we get a description of these particular beasts, but these are the beasts of the sea. The beast of Revelation 13, verses 1 through 10, is the beast of the sea. And, well, what sea? The Great Sea. Well, what's the Great Sea? Well, the Great Sea, according to the Bible, bordered the ancient lands of Israel. You can go to Numbers 34, verses 6 through 7, Joshua 1:4, Joshua 9:1, Joshua 23:4, Ezekiel 47, verses 13 to 16, to find out this expression, the Great Sea. And if you look at a map, you'll find out that the Great Sea is the Mediterranean Sea, which borders Europe on the south, and the old ancient Roman Empire. Rome also had the other side of it. Now, the Bible teaches that a power from Europe, called the King of the North, in Daniel chapter 11, verse 40, is going to come down to the King of the South and take it over. So we have a power coming from the north, which is not Saudi Arabia, that's going to come take over a power in the south, which basically means that the beast power will have control around the entire Mediterranean Sea, which is the Great Sea, and this is what Isaiah 21 is actually referring to. Well, what about Mystery Babylon the Great, if it's not Mecca? Well, the Bible's talking about a European power, and to help prove that, let's go to the book of Revelation, Revelation chapter 17. I'm going to read several verses here. Then starting verse 1, one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and talked with me, saying to me, Come, I'm going to show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit in the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, like cardinals, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a cup full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus, and I saw her and marveled with great amazement. So we hear about some power that's committed fornication with the kings of the earth. In other words, been involved with politics and world affairs. Kings of the earth, not just some kings in the Arab lands, but throughout the world. Now, let's continue, starting verse 7. But the angel said to me, Why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which has 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast which you saw was and is not, will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. And all who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see the beast that was, is not, and yet is. If you look throughout world history, you'll see the Roman Empire, you'll see various resurrections of the Roman Empire, the resurrections of the Holy Roman Empire. This is not referring to Islam. Now, how else can we know that? Let's read the next verse, Revelation 17, verse 9. Here is the mind that has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains or hills on which the woman sits. Now, why does this matter? Well, one of the sources I looked at who believes that it's Mecca says, oh, these hills are just figurative. Actually, 2 sources. Joel Richardson was the other one, I think. This is not literal. Well, John saw something literal and then was given an explanation. And the explanation was it's on 7 hills. So consider that. We'll go back to that a little bit later. Now let's drop down to verse 15. Read a bit more from Revelation 17 to learn more about Mystery Babylon. Then he said to me, the waters which you saw, where the harlot sits, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which you saw in the beast, these will hate the harlot, make her desolate, naked, and eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God has put it in their hearts to fulfill his purpose, and be of one mind, to give their kingdom to the beast until the words of God are fulfilled. And the woman who you saw is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. Great city that reigns over the kings of the earth. Well, that's not Mecca. Throughout history, it's been Rome, at least in the Western world. And Rome also had North Africa, parts of Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, of course. It does not apply to Mecca. It's some great city that has reigned over the kings of the earth. Well, what about Mecca? Well, Mecca is a small valley. Let me read something about it. It says 5 hills, not 7, used to form a rim around central Mecca. And Mecca is a city of 5 hills. It is not the city of 7 hills. Now, one person who doesn't believe this has to do with Rome claims that, well, the Vatican is not within the 7 hills of Rome, and therefore this could not possibly be a reference to Rome. Well, I want to address that, but before I do, let me state the following. According to Roman Catholic scholars, this is a reference in Revelation 17 to Rome. Now, they will argue it's got to do with pre-Constantinian Rome or ancient Rome, but they point it to Nero in Rome, but they realize this is a reference to Rome. I've not seen a Catholic scholar that says it's Mecca. There might be some now, but there weren't any before that I ever found that said it was Rome. They said that this was, all the Catholic scholars have said it was Rome, not Mecca. Well, is it true that the Vatican is not within the 7 hills of Rome? Yes, that's true. Well, therefore, doesn't that prove, therefore, this is not possibly a reference to a Church of Rome? Well, no. Well, what do you mean, well, no? A common misconception that people have is that the cathedra that Rome, the Church of Rome claims to have its authority come from, is within Vatican City. That is not the case. Actually, the one that the Church of Rome claims to have for this particular purpose is St. John's Lateran, which my wife and I have been to several times. Now, the Basilica of St. John's Lateran is within the old walls of ancient Rome. It's located near the edge of one of the 7 hills. It's called Coelian, otherwise spelled Celio or Caelin Hill. And it's one of the original hills of the 7 hills of Rome. Now, I'd like to read something about St. John's Lateran. It is the throne of the Lateran, not the chair of Peter, in which the sovereign of the Western Church is installed, exhibiting on its ancient marble steps, curiously interwoven with figures of a lion, adder, dragon, and basilisk, on which he treads as he mounts his seats. Now, the basilisk, I guess I just mispronounced that, is a legendary reptile, supposedly to be the king of the serpents, and have power to cause death with a single glance. I've seen this chair quite a few times. As far as St. John's Lateran goes, I want to show you a photograph that my wife has taken. Now, this particular inscription is on the outside of St. John's Lateran Basilica many times in several places, and I've seen it on more than one occasion. You say, well, so what? It's a description in Latin. And when you translate in English, here's what it says. Sacred Lateran Church, mother and head of all churches of the city and the world. So it claims that church is in charge of all the cities and all the world, and it is within the 7 hills of Rome. Islam is not in the same league. Now, the Bible does tell about a confederation of peoples rising up who are in the predominantly Islamic lands of the Middle East and North Africa. And it would include Saudi Arabia. But that power is called the King of the South, and the Bible shows it will be defeated by a European King of the North in Daniel chapter 11, verses 40 to 43. But I would also comment that I do not agree that the religion of Islam is the center of the physical idolatry in this world today. Muslims pretty much are anti-idol. Interestingly, the original Church of Rome for a while was against idols to a significant degree, but was actually when Islam rose up and so opposed to idols and icons that the Western Church of Rome, the Roman Church, tend to side with the Eastern Greek Orthodox Church, and they adopted idols, etc. As a matter of fact, at the Seventh Ecumenical Council, at least that's what the Eastern Orthodox call it, they call that the victory of orthodoxy because that's when they got the Church of Rome to accept idols and icons. Now, I've been to Vatican City many times, and they do sell a variety of idols and icons there in other parts of Rome, which I've been. I haven't really seen this in Islamic nations. I was recently in one, and again, I don't see the type of idols, at least physical idols or icons, in Islamic countries the way you do in Western countries or countries that have been affected seriously by the Church of Rome or the Eastern Orthodox. The biblical reality is that Mystery Babylon has to do with a European power, a power that's associated with the Mediterranean Sea, the beast of the sea, the city of 7 hills. Those 7 hills have St. John's Lateran. Within those, that's going to be end-time Mystery Babylon. Mecca, a city of 5 hills, has not reigned over the kings of the world throughout the centuries. It is not Mystery Babylon, nor is the United States. Don't be dissuaded by those who don't truly believe the Bible but claim that they do. Believe what the Word of God says. You can check it out. You can check out the geography of Rome versus Mecca, or the United States for that matter, as well as look at the facts of world history and realize end-time Mystery Babylon has a connection to the city of 7 hills, which is in Rome, not Mecca in Saudi Arabia or the United States. This is Dr. Bob Thiel for the Bible News Prophecy Channel.